Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's been over 2 weeks. I haven't really done a video in a good while now. But as the days go by, as the hours go by, as the seconds tick on, I can feel the atmosphere in the world of boxing. You can cut the air literally with a knife. The excitement is building. This time, next week, will be the weigh-in for Triple G v Canelo Álvarez. This video is going to be epic. Absolutely epic. Why is that? Well, many people are billing this as the fight of the century. Can it be that? Yes, it can. Why? Because you have two of the most exciting styles in boxing. Both these guys like to punch, and fans like to see punches. The casual audiences that won't be purchasing or watching this fight are going to miss out big time. This is the fight that the audiences hoped Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather would have been. But they fell for the hype. Today, more than ever, Hollywood and this reality persona we see in the world today controls what people buy, even in sports. There was one time where only the best really could sell. Now, if you put as much garbage and as much nonsense on something, you can sell it, even if the fight is rubbish. That's right, even if it's rubbish. It's been proven by these record-breaking numbers from Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. But this is going to be epic, this breakdown, because I'm going to tell you how Triple G beats Canelo Álvarez. And I'm going to give you a theory onto how Canelo Álvarez beats Triple G, because I can only give you a theory, really, because there is no blueprint to beat Triple G. Nobody has done it yet. There is not a Luis Castillo moment in Triple G's career so far. Am I saying Triple G is a greater fighter than Mayweather? No, I am not. I am just saying that there is not that moment. Danny Jacobs is not that moment. That was a competitive, good fight, but it was not a fight where at the end of it you thought Danny Jacobs won by 3 rounds, like Castillo, I believe, beat Floyd Mayweather by 3 points. Golovkin has a clean sweep of victories. There is no blueprint. There is just theory. You know how you can do well now against Golovkin, i.e. Jacobs, and arguably Kell Brook, but they still did not win. One was stopped brutally, and the other was dropped and was out-jabbed and out-punched by the final CompuBox numbers. Now, people say CompuBox means nothing until their favourite fighter needs to rely on it. Then they revert to the stats, don't they? Well, also people say numbers don't lie. Well, if numbers don't lie, those numbers didn't lie, and Jacobs was outlanded. That jab once again at Triple G, I believe, got him out of jail, and when he knocked Jacobs down. But a win, whether it's a hard-fought one or not, at the top end of the scale is a win. And we have to say this, Triple G beat the second best middleweight currently in the world. Can we say Canelo Álvarez did that in his last fight? Because, let me just say this, there was a big question going round the boxing community. What is the best situation to be in before a big fight? Is it where you've coasted your previous fight going into the mega fight? Or are you best going in having really been tested? Now, my opinion is you are better off going in really tested. Because Danny Jacobs, in terms of power, speed and awkwardness, has prepared Golovkin. People are not really considering this. Danny Jacobs hit Golovkin So when Canelo hits Golovkin, guess what? It's not going to surprise Golovkin. But let's reverse it. Chavez did nothing to Canelo. It was a breeze for him. So he's going to feel a shock and awe experience if Golovkin hits him, because Golovkin will test him. Canelo is going into this fight very, very, very unscathed. And I think that sometimes can go against you. Liam Smith really didn't test Canelo at all. Amir Khan was having good boxing moments, but he didn't hurt Canelo. Liam Smith, Amir Khan and Chavez is not the free fight preparation I would have put up for Canelo before a match with Triple G. Let's just put it this way. But had you said to me, David Lemieux, Danny Jacobs, and Kell Brook, who was unbeaten at the time, and Golovkin fought him in the UK, right? Those 3 fights before a potential showdown with Canelo, I'd have said, yes, that's good. Because these guys, well, world champions at middleweight, proven middleweight power and strength, Jacobs and David Lemieux. World champion welterweight, Kell Brook, never been beaten, fast, accurate, strong, right? Amir Khan does not give you the physical strength test that you require when you're in there with Golovkin. Liam Smith is a lot more limited than Gennady Golovkin. He tends to come forward with his guard up and throw his shots. And when you've got a high guard, you are exposed to the body, aren't you? Which Canelo really did expose on Liam Smith when he stopped him in the 9th round in their fight. And Chavez was like a punch bag in there. He fought with no pride, no anger. This was not a Mexican grand showdown. But this is. Golovkin and Canelo is. Triple G will, let's put it this way, put some rage into his work that Chavez did not. Not that I think Chavez could ever be as good as Golovkin, but attitude and application in boxing can sometimes help big time. And Golovkin will have that and the talent and the will to want to win. People keep saying about Canelo's power, and I'm going to talk about how people are describing this version of Canelo Álvarez that will be ready for next Saturday night, which I find bizarre to say the least. But they're talking about a Canelo Álvarez who is a great puncher, but I'm seeing him knock out 154-pound fighters. I'm seeing him knock out Amir Khan. I'm seeing him go all 12 rounds with a guy who was there to be hit all night and he couldn't even drop him. And that's Chavez. And Chavez fought that fight at a catchweight, which weakens somebody's chin. And yet Canelo still did not drop him. So I'm supposed to believe, right? And I'm not Mexican. I'm not from Kazakhstan. I don't have a horse in this race. I'm looking at it clinically. But people are trying to tell me that Canelo is going to knock Triple G over when he lands his first jab. And when he hits Triple G to the body. Triple G's a good body puncher too. Did nobody think of that? And let's put something else in the ingredients of this fight, which people are overlooking. They're constantly saying Canelo has a better all-round resume. Yes, maybe pound for pound, but this fight is not being fought pound for pound. It's at middleweight. That's right, middleweight. This is Canelo Álvarez's debut at middleweight. He's basically doing the same thing, only going up one more weight class than what Kell Brook's done. Who did Canelo beat for the middleweight title of the world? It was one of the best welterweights of the era, Miguel Cotto, not a natural middleweight. And was Miguel Cotto stopped in those 12 rounds? I've seen it go the distance. I don't know if in an alternative reality you saw Cotto get knocked out. If you did, you can please put me in a lunatic asylum now. But I saw Cotto go 12 rounds. I did not see Cotto go 12 rounds, a younger, fresher Cotto with Manny Pacquiao, who is a lot smaller than Canelo Álvarez. Canelo was meant to take the bull by the horns and finish Miguel that night, but he didn't. To me, it was a lot closer than people give it credit for. Right? So, I just don't see where this monumental power that's going to rock Triple G, it's going to be something he's never felt before, is going to happen. Because, as I said, who has the experience of fighting regular middleweights? Golovkin. Who has the experience of feeling a middleweight's power hit his chin, hit his body, and in clinches feel their strength? Golovkin. Who is the one making his debut in a foreign weight class? Canelo Álvarez. Right? We really don't know. It's all guesswork about how Canelo Álvarez will function as a middleweight. But let me tell you something. Every time I ask people, tell me how Canelo Álvarez functions at middleweight against the best of the middleweight contenders, they turn him into a different fighter than he is in their explanation about how he's going to win. For instance, they say he's going to defend, he's going to move, he's going to use head movement like never before, he's going to be dancing around the ring. They turn the guy into Floyd Mayweather or Pernell Whitaker. Let me tell you, Canelo Álvarez is neither of those guys. He's not. This is not, again, picking on Canelo Álvarez. He's a great fighter, but his style is what it is. Can, in theory, Canelo Álvarez start like a Pernell Whitaker or a Floyd Mayweather v Gennady Golovkin? Yes, he can, but you know something? When you get hit by a strong middleweight, I've said this many times on these videos, and I'll say it again. The game plan goes out the window once you get hit. And if Canelo Álvarez is hit to the point where he's shook, you sort of get scrambled and game plans just dissipate. Right? The head movement thing, they're talking about Triple G, a lot of people, as though he is just a slugger in the mould of Liam Smith. People are saying Canelo does great with pressure fighters because they come into range. Canelo doesn't have to look for him. He can plant his feet and let his shots go. And when they fire their shots, he can use his head movement and then throw combinations back. Let me tell you something. He's fought good pressure fighters. But as he fought this one, there's a difference. Right? A big difference. Canelo is going to have to move, I believe. He's going to have to move. And this head movement people are talking about, as though, again, he's Prince Nassim Hamed, right? As though he can just move his head around on the ropes till Triple G gets frustrated, hitting air, and then counter him big time and drop him to the floor. Do people think that Gennady Golovkin cannot time a jab? He doesn't just throw a jab. You see, Golovkin is not Marcus Maidana. He doesn't waste shots. If a shot is not really on, he generally doesn't try and take it. If he knows it's on, he'll take it. So, Álvarez will be timed by Golovkin. He will be timed. This will not be a reckless fight from Golovkin. Just because somebody knocks people out, don't ever think that they're reckless, and don't ever think that there isn't a method, right? People are saying Golovkin cannot make adjustments. Let me tell you something, that is a big mistake to think that, because Gennady Golovkin can do two things in this fight. He can work behind the jab if there's any distance between the two fighters, right? And that jab hurts, right? Martin Murray, who has fought both George Groves, who is a super middleweight, and Gennady Golovkin, said that Golovkin's jab hurts more than George Groves' jab. He said it's like a power punch. So that's gonna sting. And we know people say, oh, well, Canelo will limit Golovkin to just his jab. If a jab's landing, it also sets up other shots. Have you ever thought about that? Right? So, in the distance, Golovkin has got that jab. That piston jab. If the boxing approach, which is governed by the jab, is not working in this fight, Golovkin can adjust and brawl. Brawl, yes. Use his natural experience, strength on the inside against Canelo. Right? Because I have not seen Canelo. I don't know about you. But I have not seen Canelo fight a megaphone booth fight against a guy of this particular level. Right? Maybe the size of Triple G. You see, the thing is, Kell Brook come in the ring weighing the middleweight limit and beyond on fight night. But there's a difference. I could tell that Kell Brook was not natural at that weight as the fight wore on. Canelo can put all the weight on. He can bulk up. But his talent has to be such that he does not need to rely on size, because I think the size will benefit Golovkin because he's been there, he's done this, right? Canelo Álvarez will have to have Manny Pacquiao level talent when Pacquiao was beating the bigger guys, because Manny Pacquiao did not go in the trenches with Ricky Hatton. He countered Ricky Hatton and was that fast that he was able to hit him clean, right? Because a lot of the time, Margarito is going to be a bigger guy and a stronger guy than Manny Pacquiao. So he's relying on his foot speed, his hand speed, his timing, his head movement. This is what we're asking of Canelo. But let me tell you something. Canelo is fast, but he's not that fast. And he slows down as fights go on. And you know when you're a little bit hurt and a little bit buzzed, which Liam Smith won't give you, you slow down even more. Golovkin will at least hurt him. And what is it like when you're both hurt and fatigued? It's a different ball game. So how can Triple G beat Canelo Álvarez? All of what I've just mentioned. He's got a jab unlike very few. He can box better than people are giving him credit for. Look when he had a little bit of fear for one of the only times in his career against David Lemieux. David Lemieux is a big puncher. That's the guy Canelo could have done with before fighting Golovkin. But let me tell you something. Golden Boy mustn't have been that confident. Because if they'd have thrown him in there with David Lemieux, it could be a toss-up. We don't know how Canelo absorbs middleweight power again. Canelo can't keep Triple G away with his jab. His arms are shorter, first of all. Right? And as I said, Triple G can win it with a jab. He can box better than people think. His foot placement rather than foot speed is excellent. Everything he does hurts, even if it's not necessarily a knockout punch, because I do think he's more of a breakdown middleweight than, say, a Marvin Hagler who would just take your head off. He is methodical, right? And people say, well, Canelo will do nothing but counter Golovkin, do this to Golovkin. But you're talking again as though Golovkin is throwing reckless shots at air. And as I said, he boxed very well against David Lemieux when he feared that David Lemieux's power could affect him. Well, guess what? Do you really think that Gennady Golovkin is going to underestimate Canelo Álvarez? I don't think he will. So, with no reckless shots and a jab early to try and break Canelo down, I'm not sure there'll be that much to counter, to be honest with you. Right? So, the jab can set things up. Golovkin can box better than people say. Right? And if that's not working, he can go and try and put it on Canelo Álvarez. And he's very powerful and hurtful. And where do I stand on this fight in terms of age? Is because Gennady Golovkin is 35 years of age now, does that mean that this fight is a little closer? Yes, it does. Because Father Time is unbeaten, right? A few years ago, I don't think this fight would have been remotely competitive. When you're going for your pick, right, you must always think this. Go with your initial instinct. Don't change. Because you'll regret it. Right? Don't change. And you see, I'm seeing a lot of people pick either one or the other fighter because they've either fought that guy or they're a fan of that guy. That's a big mistake. Examine the two. Canelo Álvarez may be the better man overall, but again, he's fighting out of his comfort zone in another man's division. Who is the king of that division? Right? Canelo is not even the king of 154 pounds, really, when you think about it. You know, this guy has got a tough career in the next two weight classes, no matter what happens on Saturday night. Age may make it a little bit closer, as I've just said, but that's only me presuming, because there's a saying. An older fighter always has one more great night left in him, particularly when there's big motivation. And there is massive motivation here for Gennady Golovkin. This is his crossover fight. Make no questions about it. He's had some good wins. Again, people are saying he's beaten a lot of B-level fighters. Well, let me tell you, those B-level fighters are A-level if they fight 154-pounders. Because size evens things out. And again, a B-level middleweight is still rugged and tough. Again, it's not like fighting Amir Khan, who may be ranked above them pound for pound. Amir Khan is smaller. Skillful, yes, but he's smaller. It counts in boxing. Otherwise, Amir Khan surely would go up and beat Anthony Joshua, but it just wouldn't happen. He's more skillful, but the strength is there, and the size and the power with Joshua, and it counts. And I think, even though Canelo is not going up that much, it will still matter. Size will matter in this fight. And all this bulking out of Canelo, he needs to be doing everything to keep speed. Not too much muscle. And not too much bulk that will slow him down. From what I'm seeing, he's looking like the Incredible Hulk. He needs to be more Superman. Constant movement. He needs to make Golovkin hesitant to throw anything. That's what I believe. If he can move for 12 rounds, which I'm turning Canelo into a fighter I've never seen before. Again, this is theory. This is theory, right? Because I've not seen Golovkin beaten. I haven't, so I can't really say what beats him. I could say what gives him trouble, and what gave him trouble was Danny Jacobs' length and ability to switch, and his awkwardness and his size. But Canelo has none of these things. When's the last time you've seen Canelo Álvarez fight half a match in southpaw, in the southpaw stance? I haven't seen it. Right? When's the last time you've seen Canelo Álvarez's arms grow a couple of inches? Well, it's going to have to happen on Saturday night. He better be eating breakfast real good for that to happen. Growth spurts at this age. When did you last see Canelo Álvarez? And I know he is big, but when was he as big as Danny Jacobs? He's not. He may be a better pound-for-pound fighter than Jacobs, but styles make fights. Think of this word, intangibles. It's all about intangibles. So the way for me, for Canelo, is no respite on those ropes. No respite. You've got to keep it centre of the ring, but be constantly turning Golovkin centre of the ring, right? And you've got to sort of win the early rounds to make Golovkin second guess his game plans, right? Second guess them. Get in his head. Because I think the way may be, if you can get Triple G to throw more punches than he's used to, maybe he may tire. And then as he's tiring, you can let them combinations go. The body work for Canelo, I agree, is important. Early, he's got to get some of them shots in, but they've got to be effective. They've got to be effective against a middleweight, which we don't know. We don't know whether they'd be effective against Lemieux or Danny Jacobs, let alone Golovkin. But I know Golovkin's body shots may hurt Canelo because he's used to fighting smaller guys. And he's been buzzed by smaller guys. What caused it? The movement was one thing that people give a great review for Floyd Mayweather when he beat Canelo Álvarez. But the punch that was overlooked in that fight was Floyd Mayweather's jab against Canelo, right? It was his jab and his hand speed, right? And the fact that, again, Canelo is not a big volume puncher. He's not. So the prospect of him maybe outworking Golovkin, I don't see it either. But if he can put his work rate up and avoid Golovkin's time shots at the same time, the fight will be about volume. If he can impress the judges, get that crowd of Mexicans behind him. But, see, there is a rematch clause in this as well. So, if it goes to the cards, is Canelo going to get the victory real? I know people are saying that, and I understand what they're saying, but is Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy thinking money in a rematch? And that's if Golovkin wins. That's where the money is. For the first time, Canelo losing is where the money is. If it's remotely competitive, a second fight will do bigger than the first. Right? So, all this turning Canelo into a different fighter, there can be no rest on the ropes because he is not Pernell Whitaker. And would Pernell Whitaker be advised to do what he does on the ropes against a bigger man than himself? A guy that's experienced fighting at bigger weights? I don't think it's wise. Can Canelo's head avoid that jab? That's the question. Can Canelo win early rounds, get some body work in, up his work rate, and have bags of stamina, and somehow frustrate Golovkin to make Golovkin do things out of his natural games? If he can do that, I think he's got a chance. But I'm struggling. I'm guessing. I'm making a formula up of how Canelo beats Gennady Golovkin. I'm not telling you how he beats Gennady Golovkin because it hasn't happened. Right? I've seen Floyd Mayweather beaten. Yes, I have. No, I don't care what the judges said. I've seen him beaten. Right? Before Manny Pacquiao avenged the Timothy Bradley match, I'd seen Timothy Bradley beaten by Manny. The judges didn't give it, but I knew how Timothy Bradley could be beat. Right? I don't have that with Golovkin. I don't. And they're turning Canelo into... He's a good counter-puncher, but they're turning him into one-on-one Marquez. They're giving him the speed and stamina of Manny Pacquiao and the defensive skills of Floyd Mayweather and the reflexes of Prince Nassim Hamed and Pernell Whitaker. And he doesn't have those. I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing something. Can Canelo win? Yes, he's a very talented fighter, but I think Golovkin has to be a little bit below par for Canelo to get this victory. And I just think Golovkin has been waiting so long, he's motivated now. And I think the older fighter has one or two big performances left in him. Not many, but I think for special occasions, they can come out. Ask Mayweather. Mayweather was busted up, wasn't he, a few fights before against Miguel Cotto. He turned on the style when he fought Canelo. That was an old man who was still brilliant. I'm not taking anything. Still brilliant fighter, even at 36. But all the stops were pulled out, weren't they, when he met Canelo? Canelo probably watched the Cotto fight and thought, ooh, here we go. I've got a chance here. Floyd was ultra motivated when he trained for that Canelo fight. And it paid dividends. The older fighter produced another spectacular night. And I think Canelo Álvarez, a great fighter, will be saying by the end of the night, the only two guys to defeat me were Floyd Mayweather and Gennady Golovkin. Here's the thing though, everything is accurate about Floyd Mayweather. Golovkin is pretty accurate. Here's another thing, you get beat by Floyd Mayweather, you get schooled. He'll buzz you sometimes because he's that fast. You can't always see the punches coming. But everything Golovkin does hurts. Golovkin only has to have 3/4 of the success that Floyd Mayweather had. And it's a done deal, this fight. That's what I believe. Again, I could be wrong. I don't have any qualms with Kazakhstan people, Mexican people. I'm just looking at two guys in a boxing ring, a match of styles. And I'm seeing Golovkin winning this fight. And possibly with some knockdowns and it going to points or a late stoppage. I'm going more towards a late stoppage because I think we'll see the best Triple G we've seen in a while. I think Canelo will lose some of the early rounds actually, but I think some of the mid rounds, his Mexican pride will come in. He will engage Golovkin. Golovkin will be winning game plan first at the beginning, and game plan first is the jab. Then his reserve game plan is to fight. Canelo coming in to the phone booth center of the ring with Triple G will give Triple G a chance to operate game plan number 2. And game plan number 2, as I've said, is to fight and go to war. Canelo will hold his own, but for every shot Canelo lands, the one Golovkin lands will hurt more. See, it's not always about how many shots you land, it's about effective punching. And Golovkin will have more power, and that will equal more effect. And any judge, you judge this fight yourself. Forget what Vegas says. I think you will see Triple G win. Right? Will it live up to the hype? I think so. I think so. It won't be as close as many people think. And I think they've sold this as a 50-50, which I don't think it is. It's more like 60-40 in my opinion. But it will be entertaining. Far more entertaining than a lot of other fights we've seen of recent times. But, well, Canelo is in range. We will see how Canelo takes body shots from Golovkin. And some very sturdy middleweights have not been able to survive body shots from Golovkin. And this is a guy, again, bulking up. You know when you've got more muscle on your body as well? Ask Frank Bruno. Ask Anthony Joshua sometimes. When you get hit to the body, it hurts them muscles. Golovkin has been looking, shall we say, not as in shape recently, but I've seen him now and he's getting up to date. He's getting up to scratch and he's looking supreme. He's got what I refer to as ultra sort of lean muscle. And when I seen him at the media workout, Golovkin looked fast, right? Everybody's saying how quicker Canelo Álvarez is. I don't think there's much in it. I think Golovkin has enough speed to challenge Canelo, even if he's a little bit behind. But he also has that bit of timing, which could put Canelo off his game. Will Canelo, he can't afford to be hesitant if Golovkin buzzes him with the jab. He can't afford to go back to the ropes. he's got to sort of soak it up. And as I've said, do all the things I mentioned before, right? He'll hold his own when he eventually gets frustrated and it comes to a phone booth. But as I said, that's when Triple G will start to break him down, even though Canelo will be having some success. And eventually I do see him being bloodied up, Canelo, and being dropped at least in this fight. Perhaps even stopped around 9, well, no, around 10. Round 10. Because Canelo, to me, will look like he's taking them shots pretty well early. But it all accumulates when you fight a breakdown artist like Golovkin, right? I'm not comparing Martin Murray with Canelo Álvarez, but Martin Murray has fought super middleweights and gone the distance, right? And he looked like he was taking the Golovkin power very well. Then it all accumulated on him in the 11th round. Golovkin back then was ultra motivated. Recently, there's been some questionable performances, but also with Canelo, there's been some questionable picking of opponents, which have given him no preparation for Golovkin. As I've said, I think Golovkin fighting stern opposition and getting tested prepares him more for a world-class fighter like Canelo than the other way round with Canelo's opposition, right? But I think it will all get to Canelo late on. It'll feel like what people feel like when they're running a marathon. The first 20 miles, you get to mile 20, you think, my God, I could go 30. Then mile 21, boom, it all accumulates. And then you've got to find something extra. Canelo has got the boxing match of his life, right? I don't think he's got the Floyd Mayweather tools about him. He's a different fighter. A different fighter completely, and his Mexican pride will play maybe into Triple G's hands. It will give him the success that he needs to make this competitive and exciting for us, the spectators, but it will also mean that he's there to be broken down. Because pride is pride in Mexico. That's why in the end he took this fight. I think he was getting upset. All this talk of he's ducking Golovkin, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing the other, it really got to Canelo's psyche, and now he is signed on, right? So Golovkin is not quite at his prime, but I think he can pull this out. And everything I've said about Canelo potentially winning is guesswork. It's been a real long breakdown video, this, and I think the excitement is building and building and building and building. The anticipation on fight night and the night before and the weigh-in will be sensational. Absolutely sensational. I'm in a room right now and I'm telling you there's a spider and it is absolutely massive. It looks like it could take on the winner of this fight, right? Absolutely terrifying. Golovkin would run a mile from this spider, right? If this spider got in the ring with Golovkin and was throwing its eight legs and arms, you wouldn't know which shot is going to come next and what angle it's going to come from, right? It is hovering above my head now, and I have to admit, I am intimidated. Really intimidated. This is how I think Canelo Álvarez is going to feel before he gets in the ring. But credit to both men, they finally made the fight happen. But I've got Gennady Golovkin in an epic, entertaining night. This is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. I'm out.